nights, and they could earn good money.
But you were working at night anyway in the pubs.
I was too knackered anyway.
Well, I've heard this from Rick, which is interesting that he remembers this, right? So apparently, because obviously, without mobile phones as well, contact, in one breath it was tougher, but in the next breath, you know, what a lovely way we used to live without having somebody on your back all the time. I mean, it's a blessing and a curse to mobile. I'd say bigger curse than blessing. But without all of that, that's why it's quite easy for you to be able to move yourself around sort of surreptitiously, and that's a big word.
Of course, my main concern was what I could do with the gear. When I was using pubs, most pubs would allow you to leave the gear over to pick it up the next day.
When you say your gear, what, your amplifier?
Amplifiers, big Leslie cabinet and all the rest of it. And so one of the reasons why I stayed with Tina for so long was convenient because she'd got a garage.
By the way, you can't. I'm gonna rewind that. You don't want to say the reason you stayed with her because it was convenient for the garage. I just got to read it. Well, that's one of your son's mum.
It was somewhere to put my gear on. And the cab.
Yeah, I suppose brutally honest. Yeah.
Memories.
So we've got everybody. We're at a stage where all of your, because it's now just daughters, because Kenneth's gone, right? So we've got daughters with the marital home, yeah. You got two sons and a daughter from the two side families, and at this point, does everyone know about everyone else?
Well, I think so, because my mum used to say to me, "You think that they're coming to see you, not your music, but see who you're the Jack the Lad, you know." Because she knew I had affairs. I hadn't met Lynn or anything. Chris obviously had told her, you know. So,
you didn't, obviously. I love that. So the missus had told your mum.
They never discussed it with me. It was one of those. You know, Lynn had always said you can't argue with him because I started asking questions. I just got up.
But they all wanted you back, Dad.
Yes,
ultimately, it's mad, isn't it? No question. And what about, so, you know, taking kids out, because that is something that happens. You take kids out to places in school holidays and shit like that. How are you coping with all of that?
Well, I did. I took Don and Ricky out to the West End, to the shows, and
it's the wind. It's going to be a storm.
Yeah. We take for the occasional meal.
Now I'll tell you one. I'm sure, I don't know if I've ever shared this, right? But only because I found this out from Rick. So there would be occasions where Ricky's mum would be like, you know, Dad's coming tonight, Dad's coming around tonight, and you get everything like bang, and is this music okay? Do you reckon they'll like this one? And blah blah. And then either you might not show up, or you might show up and then literally black out on the sofa or in a chair because you got too much going on.
I don't recall, actually. I spent a lot of time with you remember the Spectrum computer?
Yeah, Sinclair. No, the Spectrum was BBC, wasn't it?
No, the Spectrum was a little coloured, but that size.
Was it the Sinclair Spectrum? It was the Sinclair Spectrum, yeah.
And I had one of those first, and spent a lot of time in the afternoons, like programming it and showing the kids how to use it.
But somehow you managed to pull it I say pull it off, you know, I don't, the words pull it off and get away with it sound a bit wrong, you know, you managed.
As always planned, yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't
planned. Well, I mean, I don't know if, I've never had a plan in life, like genuinely. You know, what happens. How can you possibly, you know, when you realise that it's out of your control anyway, and then whenever people do plan, things tend to go wrong. Everybody plans heavily for Christmas.
Made the best of a fucking bad job.
Hey?
Made the best of a bad job. Because I realised it was hurting people. And
I mean, did you realise who it was? The mums getting hurt or the kids? I mean, who's
well, the mum's getting hurt. When Chris had one occasion, I turned up and went to bed with her, and we took my shirt off and scratches all down my back, and she says to me, "Is there anything left for me?"
And that's a very calm way of dealing with it as well, because I tell you what, a lot of people go, "You cheer you and slap you and blah 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 blah." I mean, wow. Now listen, I'm just going to go. The one that is obviously going to be a bit of a sting, right? Is what then occurred with Tina. Do you want to share that? So this is my youngest brother. So my youngest brother, Mikey, your youngest son, youngest child, full stop. He's only 36, I've got a feeling now. I mean, that's now. Right, so he's only just over half my age.
Michael was only 9. And,
well, again, nobody knows this, so this is the thing. Yeah, but so I mean, tell us about that day, because that's a hardcore. That's a thing. So what was going on? What happened?
Tina obviously got pissed off with the relationship when she realised that she'd met Lynn and knew that was too involved. And our best friend Mary cop her out. And
copper.
Policeman.
What do you mean after? Fancying. That sort of after, not to jail.
And she got introduced to this copper. She fell for him, so to speak. And I wasn't too happy with it, because I ended up called up to get Michael to take him to the park. And went into the living room, and she'd designed separate little sections of the living room up and made a separate bedroom for herself, so that Michael could have a bedroom. And he went to walk into this little section of the living room, and she stopped him.
Who, Mikey?
Yeah, instantly. Don't go in there. Anyway, I took him to the park, and he says, "You don't like policemen, do you?" He says, what do you call it? His name was
PC, whatever.
PC was in the house. I realised that she had him, and we parted, but we're still friends.
But the thing is, right, this is an interesting thing, is you had been basically, at this point, all semi-forgiven by all of your women, the core ones, for your lifestyle. You couldn't do it the other way around.
You mean?
Well, if they had an affair, that was it.
No, that's true. I'm probably
that's pot calling the kettle black and living in a glass house and throwing stones.
Well, isn't it the way men are conditioned?
You're right. Yeah.
We're the hunters, but then they said to me on one occasion, "You think you chase women," which is we just keep running until we stop. In other words, we choose.
Well, the women choose.
Women choose.
Of course, look. I mean, they have complete power over all of us, and it's and we're told that it's the other way around. It's just not. And then so you'd split up at that point, but obviously you've got Mikey, so you've still got to see her.
Yeah, well, I was at the meantime I was taking Michael over at weekends to spend time with me and Chris, and he was quite happy with coming and just spending the weekends. Then so
he'd worked out that was actually your wife, and that the girls were his sisters.
Yeah. Right. And Tina was quite happy with that, for me to take him at weekends. And then comes this Christmas, New Year's Eve, and she's supposed to go out with this new bloke, not the copper, somebody else, and he let her down, and consequently she went into a deep depression, probably through alcohol, and took her life.
Wow. How did you find that out, and how did Mikey find that out?
Michael had spent the whole weekends, the Christmas and New Year with me. I took him back in the day after New Year's Eve, and he went to the door of the flat.
Right, so you both rocked up together over the Christmas, and this is the Christmas period.
Yeah. Oh, New Year's Eve.
Right.
Yeah. He probably wasn't. He probably spent the Christmas with her. Right. New Year, she wanted to go out with the bloke. I kept him for New Year's Eve. We went to the Hackney Dogs, and he quite enjoyed it. And I tried ringing her to say that she wasn't answering. And I thought that's strange. I dropped him off the next day anyway. Waited to see if he got into the house.
You'd wait. Yeah, always wait for
knock,
the doors.
Knock, and he couldn't answer. So he went down to the local neighbours, spent the night there. The next morning, so I got home.
So what? Everybody at this point, everybody's assuming she's just out. Yeah.
I assumed she was out. Yeah. And then I tried to knock. The boyfriend was called or something. I don't know if he actually turned up. And then they broke the door down and found her in the bathroom.
So, but Mikey wasn't there at that point.
No.
And then, so what happened? So he's only 9 years old. That's old enough to know.
Yeah.
But also young enough to, I don't know. It's about who can know. It's very hard to know, isn't it? So how did he?
Well, I took advice from social and different people around you. Would it be better to tell him outright about his mum, or would it be better to leave it till he was older? And I was advised to leave it till he was older.
Right.
But what I didn't know that was one of his friends, his best friends, Tina, my daughter Tina, had already told him how it happened. Michael knew long before he was told by me.
Right.
And I explained to him the reason why I then kept it from him. He was too young.
I mean, I don't know if anyone would advise like that these days to keep it secret. There was a whole secrets were almost part of a national institution, whereas now it's like just say it now, because it's never going to get any better.
That's right.
Ever, And also the weirdness, he would have had something going on inside, even though you wouldn't voice it at 9, because why am I not going home to mum?
I then had the fear that he would have been brought up by his aunties, Tina's relatives, who he wasn't too happy with them.
Right.
He still doesn't.
One of them's a view, by the way. There's somebody that going in the comments. Is one of his aunties is actually. Oh yeah, I think it's called Tina. It's called Tina as well. Hiya Tina, shout out to you. Keep on watching. We're getting deep in. We never know. Mikey doesn't want to come on screen, but we might get him in voice. We might get the voice on. So how did that? You didn't obviously. So you wanted to keep him basically with you.
Yeah.
And how did that work out?
Well, the next day Chris said to me, "Let's go and pick up our boy."
Oh wow! I mean, she's amazing, by the way. And I've now met Chris because she's still here and with us. Wow, that's incredible. And so he just came and became part of the family.
Yeah,
the bigger family.
Yeah, and then Tina's best friend who moved to Ireland asked her. He flew on not a single, the little light aircraft, but seven passengers.
Yeah.
Took him from Suckling Air was it was called. He flew to Ireland. on his own.
At what age?
About 9.5.
Right, my God, so quite quickly after.
Yeah. And Mary said she'd bring him up. But then he was so upset, I suppose, his mum. He started burning fucking bushes and behaving a bit fucking strange.
Well, fair. I mean, you can. There's every reason. Because not only is his mum gone, he's now been removed from his dad as well. Everything's happening.
So we took him back. And then when I met Patsy,
that's your bird.
Yeah. She took him in because not into her house. She was a caretaker. Not a caretaker. Home.
Home help.
Home, yeah, but she had her own. She had her own. What's it called?
Business.
A place where the
residency.
Yeah, and she looked after them.
Oh, halfway house, like a halfway house.
Yes, and she was manager there.
Right.
And she took Michael in and gave him a room. And it was inconvenient, so I gave him a lot of freedom. I let him. His best friend was Robert.
Carl.
Not Rob.
Carl. I know only because I've met Carl.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, Carl, if you're watching, probably not. Nice to see Carl. Carl reminds me of what's his name? Come to me, but keep going.
This one wicked and this one bad. This one going to your mum, to your dad. I mean, it's like you can spell things out. You use your mouth predominantly.
So Carl's mum looked after him and let him stop in Carl's house, his house. So I gave him freedom to run around the fucking roads and the streets. I regretted it, but he says no. He says he's quite happy with his childhood. He
had what a lot of kids didn't have, which he could do what he wanted to do.
Yes, I gave him freedom. And every night then, before I went and done a gig, I'd call around and see if he was, behaving himself, give him a few quid. And it's a very stressful life to live.
No, I mean it's when it's again like everything, I guess. When it's going well, it goes well, but when it goes bad, boy, does it go bad. I mean, the thing is, nobody can equate for. You can't ever write any of this stuff in. I've recently had a friend who tries to take himself, and thank God didn't manage, right? But the ramifications of those things, which is generally alcohol is involved, not always, but generally alcohol or drugs are involved when those decisions are being made. And for the person that goes, it's a nice, easy way to end, to quieten your stresses and your emotions, but the ramifications that last forever, actually, in everybody else's world.
Well, I think I've done the right thing in looking after the kids, because, as you say, the number of children who don't know the dads, and who, for instance, yes.
Who's your dad? Don't know. Some Irish, so Mick, some old Mick that played the squeeze box. Apparently, that's what I don't know. I'd call him his sire, as we said in other shows. But go on. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, look. By the way, I'm not saying that to me because I wouldn't. What happened to me happens in my life, and that's it. There's no point in looking back and moaning about life. And I know that Mikey definitely doesn't. We had, when he first came over to London to stay with me for a while. Of course, it was a bit awkward. All of a sudden, there's a brand new older brother, and then I've got one for me even as a younger brother. And all of a sudden, we're together and not knowing each other. But it took a matter of a couple of days for us to literally be telling our stories and crying and hugging. Literally crying and hugging each other. But when we realised that actually, see, my mum Pam was she. No, it wasn't always. It wasn't consistent throughout her entire life, there were very big periods where she didn't drink at all, and she was part of a church group. But at parties, she'd drink, and it was always a bloody nightmare.
Yeah.
And I know that Mikey had the same stories as me, which would be at family parties, because most in those days parties were generally family based. And I'd always be dragged out at some point by my wrist, with my mum screaming at my grandparents or someone about, "You'll never see him again," and you know, and that's and we only lived across the road. I mean, Christ, you couldn't not see them, but yeah, it's a weird. It's this thing that emotions are things that we can't actually touch. No, but look, I haven't got a handful of love or a handful of hate or a handful of worry or a handful of anything, right? You can't touch it, you can't see it, you can't buy it, you can't get it, right?
Yeah.
But they're invisible, and they're made ourselves. We manufacture them ourselves. But the level of power that they have is absolutely inordinate. Really is. And so, I mean, when you know, actually, do you know what? Was just only because, right? This story does keep on giving. It's a story that keeps giving, and I want to keep you lot here, right? So if we go on too long, you'll all have stuff to do, right? So we're going to wrap this one up for now. Thank you, particularly for joining us here and finding out with me my dad's incredible story, and you know, again, we're at this point where we've had, even though we started with me and my kids rocking up, there's interesting crossovers with that as well, even down to where we're sitting right now, which there'll be a story for later on. So anyway, Dad, is there anything you want to say to Hishi? This could be your confessional. Imagine that's a priest and there's some really little thing there. No, don't really, because that would terrify me what you're going to say. I don't know that I certainly know you'd have most of your kids going like that with their ears.
Well, I was always a man of few words, and most of them said, "Okay, you've talked me into it."
You said the good Lord. What was your one? The good Lord said,
"Go forward and multiply."
And he did. My name's Happy.
And I'm Larry.
And together we are Happy as Larry. Tune in, stay tuned, like, share, subscribe, do the notification bell so that you can get the next episode of Happy as Larry. There'll be more Old Boy TV content in between as well. Stay here on YouTube, best content delivery service in the world, and we'll see you very soon. Take care.
Take care.
Now I've got to really pray, rest, record, because that was good. Yeah, man! We're off. We're laughing.